Welcome to the Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary. This is your host, ScottyB. Follow us here on YouTube for weekly videos in cosplay, fandoms, interviews, tips to build your cosplay brand, and of course, always a safe space for you to share your stories of what motivates you to stay active in the community and contribute to our cause to bring cosplayers together in this space. Joining me again this week, the savvy, the spectacular co-host, Astrovoid Cosplay. Astro, good to see you again.
Hello, hello. It's always good to be here.
Yes, and we've kind of been covering some deeper topics. I know we have before. We talked about cosplay is not consent. We talked about growing thick skin in the context of the cosplay community, and this week we are talking about that feeling of unworthiness that can come from being in cosplay and posting and looking at comments and trying to gain ground or followers or become something with the builds that you create and the photos that you post and just everything that you try to do, whether you are competitive or not. And the big question here is, does cosplay make people feel unworthy?
It could be said for multiple spaces that is a thing that can happen. You know, for me personally, when I first started, it started as a confidence thing for me. You know, it built my confidence, and to have those things and to be in those suits and that feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, over time, sometimes you can fall into those little dips where, you know, you'll start comparing yourself to others, and you might just do it subconsciously. You might even think about it, but it just kind of happens because, you know, you'll look at someone's post and you'll see that they get like thousands of likes. Then you look at yours and you're like, well, what's wrong with me? You know, why am I not good enough? Why is this not going as far as that? Why did this person grow more than I did in the same amount of time? You know, those kinds of thoughts that just start churning in your head, and then it just spirals into, you know, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. And it can get very overwhelming to the point that you just take breaks or you just quit. And it can be really, really tough to kind of break that mental cycle. And I definitely think that it has the potential to really damage mental health if you would leave it unchecked.
Yes, and we don't say that necessarily as psychologists or experts, but we do say it just as through our own observations. And for me in particular, some of the things that I've struggled with myself as I've lived my life. Certainly, you know, and it's especially, it can be very difficult, the feeling of worth, especially if you've grown a group of friends, if you've all started doing something around the same time, and as you split off and kind of do your own things as time goes on, and you see people gain success in the same things that you do, and you don't necessarily see that happening, that there can be a lot of that inner dialogue that happens when you see these things and you pay attention to them. And for me, it really became a shift to focusing and staying in my own lane and really just thinking about the things that I do for myself, and that, you know, this is me versus me. It's not me versus everyone else, because there's always going to be somebody who's better. I mean, good for them. I'm glad that they're, you know, I think it would be a tragedy if this was it, you know, if I was like at the top and everything, like how
and
bad
if I
would
am the
that
standard,
be?
I feel like we have a problem here.
So there are a lot of cosplayers who are very critical of themselves, much more so than I think other people are of the things that they share. I mean, they can get all positive comments and just people saying, oh, it's brilliant, no, it's amazing, look at how great this is, how accurate. And it still isn't really enough. It, like, they'll find like one comment that's off and they'll focus on that, because there are all those feelings underneath that just says, you know, no matter how hard I try, I'm never going to be this person, or I'm never going to be able. There's a lot of like absolutes in the nevers and the can'ts and things like that, and it can be very difficult to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that this is, again, it can be true of a lot of things, but if you base your self-worth, at least I have found, if you base your self-worth off of, you know, other people or their perceptions of you or numbers, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be there, because it's never going to be enough, right? It's never going to be, you know, nice enough or enough comments or enough people. You know, again, kind of speaking from experience, it's very similar to a lot of other issues, you know, like with, for example, eating disorders, right? There is no thin enough. There is no this enough or that enough. It's always more and more and more and more and more. And you just kind of fall into this pitfall, really, of just this hole. It's literally just this black hole, and you can't get out of it.
And
It's really
very
tough
hard.
to get out of.
Very hard if you have body dysmorphia or anything like that. It's really hard to believe that the kind of work that you put into yourself actually gets you anywhere. And if you ever slip, like if you have one day where you blow your diet, or if you have one day where you forget to work out, like it can have such a negative impact on everything else that you do. Like it's just, it's a really terrible spiral. If you are coming to random folks on the internet for this kind of advice, really it's a discussion. It's something that we want to bring light to. It's something we want to talk about on the show. It is not necessarily something that you should go and try all of the things that we're talking about on the show and be like, oh, none of this worked. Darn you guys for saying any of this, you know.
We are not licensed in any way, shape, or form. This is our personal experiences and our thoughts and opinions. Take everything with a grain of salt, and please don't sue us.
Yes, well, and you know, it's the views expressed on the show, but you know, that it's really just saying or realizing that you're probably not alone in those thoughts and feelings. Like it's more common than you might think it is. And even the people who are out there posting what you believe are some of the most amazing edits and perfect things that you've ever seen before in this context or in another, you don't know what those people are dealing with either. Like you have no idea like what kind of a train wreck or not might be behind that camera or might go into every single thing that they do. I mean,
right. And another thing too to keep in mind, social media isn't real, right? Like I cannot express this enough. Most of the times the pictures that you see, they are edited, they are face-tuned, they are photoshopped, they are, you know, I mean, there are people who have real pictures, of course, but like there are people who have big followings who completely morph their bodies. They completely change their faces. People who don't look like that in real life. You meet them in real life and you're like, who are you? You know, and you know, not in a judgment sort of way, but you really don't know what's going on with them mentally either. I'm sure there has to be a reason why they do this. I'm sure it can't just be, you know, for clout or whatever. There has to be something going on there that makes them think, oh, I'm not good enough, I need to do this. Which is sad, this has become the way things are, but I found myself at a very young age falling into that trap of thinking that these things were real. You know, I would look at these models, I would look at these pictures, and I would think, oh my God, I will never look like that. Yeah, of course, no one does. That's not real, you know? So if you find yourself, you know, obsessing over certain things, and not just pictures either, it's become video too. People can morph video, body morph their videos. I've seen it. You know, I've seen technology used to do it, the apps, I've seen all of it. And it's scary because it's really convincing. So, I mean, you've seen deep fakes, you've seen stuff like that. It's so real.
And it's really hard to explain to somebody, like, you know, you're gonna go, you know, it's just things that you go through as you go along, and you try to get somewhere and you try to get somewhere, and you know, the struggle can really, you know, you can have there's different outcomes. Let's use an example like, I don't know, I think the Netflix or the old or YouTube version of Cobra Kai, right? So it's like the continuation of the Karate Kid, but it's told from the other side of the story, and just like all of the damage that Danny does to the guy that he beats in the tournament way back when, and all like the guy's life just is a total shambles to start off the series. And it's like you never really know what the impact's going to be. Like you might have the self-confidence and you might be doing the things that you want to do, but someone might look at you and really put themselves down as a result of those successes that you have achieved yourself. And that's a bit rough, because it's really perspective that, something that I do, even though I'm trying to positively impact everybody, can negatively impact someone, and a villain can be created, right? Like this is like Batman and Joker, right? Like depending on which movie you watch or which comic book you watch, but 1989 Batman, he lets go of Jack and he falls into the vat of chemicals, and they, later on it's, you made me, but I made you, and there's all this vilifying of the good guy. Like, well, is the good guy really good? He's trying to do the right thing, but he's created so many monsters along the way. And that's where, it's like you really have to, I guess, inside of your own head, be able to deal with these things. And that can be super tough. I'm not an athlete. I'm never going to be. I can't throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. I can't hit 3-pointers from anywhere. I'm not LeBron James or anyone else like that. And honestly, genetically, I can't be, right? I mean, I can't make myself 7 feet tall.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, literally everything you said, I could have said it better, any better. It was just hit all the points. I mean, there's so many, there's so many things, so many little tangents. I feel like I could go off on this. But yeah, no, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. You're not alone. And it can happen to anyone, guys, girls, everything in between. Like it happens. And I think that social media has definitely perpetuated it, but the whole stigma, that whole sort of, thought process situation, I mean, it started back with magazine covers and, TMZ and stuff like that. It started a long time ago, and now it's just kind of evolved. And now it's easier access, and it's right in front of your face. And you have people taking these pictures saying, oh, no filter, natural. And they're wearing makeup. They have a filter. They photoshopped it, so just like, I don't know if anyone who's watching this would care, but if you haven't, I strongly encourage you look up on Google, celebrities, and you look up, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's basically with and without, like filters and Photoshop and et cetera, because you have celebrities who will pay photographers on the red carpet to take and edit pictures of them. And then you have some people who take those pictures who aren't paid, and they look completely different than the ones that are paid for. And I really think that, like, for me, at least, when I saw those, I was like, oh, like, you have acne too. Oh, like, you have this too, but you don't see those things because they Photoshop them out, And I think that's also why I'm wearing this shirt today. It's Demi Lovato, one of my biggest inspirations since I was a kid. But no, it's one of those things where you don't know who's real and who's not, unfortunately. And I think once you start taking these people off of these pedestals, you start to realize that everybody is winging it just as much as you are, and everybody is just as insecure as you are. They have their own things, might not be the same things, but they do have things. And sometimes even though they think they're doing the right thing, even though they think it's making them feel better, it's actually harming other people. That's not necessarily their fault, but there's never really been a discussion on whose fault is it. Are you falsely advertising then? Are you technically lying if you don't disclose that you morphed your face to look like a different person? So, and then there's discussion of, how far is too far, to the point that it's not even cosplaying anymore. There is that discussion too. Are you even wearing that suit? Did you completely Photoshop it on? Are you even, is that even your face? Like, did you just, I don't know, just a random example, did you take, you know, Daenerys Targaryen's face and did you put it on yours to make yourself look more like her when you're in this, you know? So it gets to a point where like there's never been a discussion on right and wrong in the situation. There's never been a clear, concise answer on, you know, is that considered okay? Because I think that, and I'm going off tangent again, but I think in society now we've created this yes sort of thing where it's like, oh, that's so valid. Oh, you're valid. Oh, that's okay. You know, go queen, right? And that's great. Empowerment is great. But when you empower these unhealthy sort of habits and these unhealthy practices, I think that it does more harm than good. Instead of saying, hey, you don't need to Photoshop this to be beautiful. Like your face is perfectly fine the way it is. You know, like instead of saying that, people have turned it to, you know, oh, you look exactly like so and so. Oh, that's perfect, you know, even though you know it's not real.
It's really hard, especially in cosplay. You know, we talked about lookalikes before, and it really, like, you're still worthy if you're not a lookalike. Like, you don't, like, you don't
Yeah.
have to stop because you can't find your doppelganger. Um, don't worry, eventually a celebrity will come along who looks like you. But it's not terribly important. You know, I sometimes I like to flip it the other way. I like to say that, you know, the actor looks a lot like the cosplayer, because to me they're all people.
Yeah.
We've chosen to put actors and actresses on pedestals, and we've chosen to kind of become their TMZ, and we've almost become that for other people in, you know, just the online space, where you get involved in the gossip and you get involved with, oh, well, this is fake, this is real, and here, look at all of this stuff that, you know, I've got all this dirt that I need to expose. And that, you know, again, it's that feeling of, you know, I'm not validated, the feeling of I'm not doing, you know, I have to make sure that everybody knows that these people aren't doing this, so that I can kind of check the box for myself, because there's something missing from those things that I'm doing. And, you know, it gets kind of toxic within yourself to try to keep going with things like that. It takes so much energy too to try and keep that up and keep finding more instances, or to try and make yourself into something because that thing is popular. You know, like, oh, I need popularity. I have to look like Ryan Reynolds, or else I won't be popular. If I'm not Hugh Jackman enough, I'm not popular. So I've got to go out and, you know, work out the way he does, and, you know, get plastic surgery. I think there are enough examples of how wrong that can get. Zac Efron.
I will say too, just from a funny, you know, humor note, could you imagine how many Zac Efron lookalikes were pissed off when he got plastic surgery because now he looks completely different? Could you imagine? Like, that would suck. Like, imagine if you had like the one person that kind of looks like you in Hollywood, right? That's the thing that you bank on, right? And then they go and change their whole face, and you're like, no, like, what do I do now?
Yes,
You
and
know, that you should. I mean, that's a lesson in itself. You know, don't base your self-worth on other people. Don't, you know, try so hard. And of course there's a line, right? Like with some of the characters that I do, I happen to look like some of them when I do my makeup right. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm running around every day saying I'm Sophie Turner, or, you know, I'm Karen Gillan, like that. No, but if I'm doing their characters and I can do the thing, like, makeup is a talent. That's hard to do. Digital art is also a talent, which is difficult to do, but those two things are not synonymous.
You did
You
an
know,
Audrey Hepburn not too long ago, didn't you?
a while ago, I decided to do that. Yeah, because I was told a long time ago that I had the same facial structure, so I played with the makeup. The lighting was wrong, but I kind of want to revisit it one day and see if I can redo it, because it was pretty good. I just got the lights wrong. But yeah, no, like you don't have to look like someone to be good enough, because you already look like someone. You look like you, and that should be good enough. That should be enough. And I guess I can't stress this enough. Of people always want what they don't have, and I can promise you, there are people out there who probably look at your pictures, who probably look at you and who probably think, man, I wish I had that. You know, man, I wish I looked like that. I know you're probably, and I say that and people are gonna be like, no, I'm, you know, but I mean it. Like it happens. And you could be that person for someone else and you don't even realize it. So, you know, I like to say that, you know, I learned this as a new adult, that everybody is just winging it. Nobody knows what's going on. And at the end of the day, we are all children running around pretending to be adults in suits. So if you take life a little bit less serious, I think that you'll find you'll be a lot happier.
As hard as it may be to do so.
Yes.
I guess we're just inviting a perspective, not telling you what you should do or what you shouldn't.
Again, please don't sue us. These are just opinions. No, of course, like we said at the beginning of the episode, you know, this is just us talking. This is just our opinions.
The last thing we would want inside of the community or anywhere else is for someone to feel bad about what they're trying to do or anything like that.
No.
And one thing, and I guess where I will stop for myself with the episode, is there are just so many instances where we progress through something. You know, we try to get better, or we are getting better. We're improving with that thing that we are doing, and we're moving along, we're keeping our head down, and you know, years can pass and there's still that thought that it's never going to be done, it's never going to be good enough, it's just this unfinished work. And you know, I would encourage people to try and ignore that feeling as much as they can. If it's something that you like to do, or it's something that you want to learn more about, sometimes, you know, not every day you're going to want to do it. Not every day you're going to feel like, oh, well, let's grind through another day and do this. But if you keep at it, if you keep doing it, if you want to get a little bit better, I think, you know, really consistency is all there is to that. You know, over time, you'll look back, you'll see where you are. You know, I can look back at the first few videos that I did, and I can look at now and I could say, well, something's changed. Like it's maybe it's not perfect, maybe it's not the greatest content that I've ever created, but it's certainly miles away from where I started. And that's really all I have to say about the topic. Astra, do you have any parting thoughts, and would you like to take us out of the episode?
Always. I will end it with something that kind of goes off of what Scotty said, but you know, the whole time I've been kind of standing on my soapbox and preaching, you know, don't get your self-worth from others. Get your self-worth from yourself, right? Instead of trying to one-up the next person beside you, try to one-up yourself. Because in reality, you know, you only have yourself. You know, when you're born, you have yourself. When you die, you have yourself. You are the only person who is with you 100% of the time. And as long as you are always working towards the better, then I think that should be something that you're comfortable with, something that you're celebrated, you know? So always try to better yourself, work on yourself. And as long as, you know, if I were to compare me and my cosplay journey now to when I first started, you know, like, yeah, when I'm in the moment, I'm thinking, wow, I really haven't done that much. I haven't gone that far. But then I look back at things and I'm like, oh, wow, you know, like that's only been so many months ago or so, like a year ago, you know? So I think that's my best advice. If you are looking to break out of that cycle, is instead of going outward, go inward and think, you know, what can I do to kind of do better? Because in reality, if your insecurity is I'm not good enough, the only way that you will ever be content with that is if you work on yourself. Because if you focus on everybody else, that's never going to change anything. So that's my best advice. That's all I got. And as always, I will do my best to take it out as awkwardly as possible, because that has become my joke of the show. So thank you all so much for watching, for listening, for being here and existing with us. I always appreciate you guys. And yeah, so if you guys are looking for our socials, you can find them in the links below. They are all over the place. They're everywhere. Always watching. So yes, again, thank you guys so much, and we will see you all next time. So bye.